Welcome to a nutty adventure exploring personal growth and wellness, breaking down the stigma around mental health along the way. Let's dive in because now it's time to show me your nuts.
Good morning, everybody. It is time for you to show me your nuts. It's Tuesday, and I'm only going to say that 2 more times this year. And then there's going to be change, but I'll hold that till later. So, how's everybody out there this morning? What's going on? I am super excited for lots of things in the nutty world. There's changes afoot. There is growth afoot. There is transformation, and there is flow. You're like, okay, Stacy, you're doing it again. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Well, transformation starts with our beliefs. Let me back up. Transformation starts with our values. Then those build our beliefs and our opinions. And so transformation begins with values, which is attached to our core and our higher self and our full being, our soul, if you will. But the transformation itself becomes really powerful when it gets to, you put those value blocks together into beliefs, and then you really believe in the things, and that turns into transformation. For example, I was literally just moments ago in a room listening to a couple of colleagues talking about things they're creating and building. And one of them was describing the prompt they put into an AI to build a thing. And I know that this person put those things in because of their belief that the output of that would help move their project forward, therefore transforming it. And guess what happened? It did. Claudio, if you're watching, I see you. I see you. And I know that you transform other humans by your work. And you're thusly going to transform the world with that work that you are believing in. Therefore, your power in believing in what you're doing, and not just the prompts, but your power in believing that you can build a machine to take over the world, is going to change the world. And all of that said, I believe in you. So you can layer one person's beliefs on another person's beliefs, and that gets you even more, bang for your buck, I guess. So, Chemical Soup TV, welcome again. I am so glad to see you this morning. And actually, I believe it's probably evening or afternoon where you're at. Evening, I suspect. Um, where does one get values from, and is it something we're born with? I'm going to refer you to our shows back in November because we reviewed values, and especially the very first show of every month, I usually go into whatever the topic is and use the definition. And then we dive deep into the pieces and parts of that definition. So, but briefly, I'll say that where we get our values from is the first 7 years of our life or so, give or take. We are operating in our unconscious mind, and our unconscious in the sense that as children we're like sponges and we absorb everything around us, and we absorb what other people's values are by what they say, by what they do, by how they do things, by how they treat us, by how they treat each other, by what actions they take. One of my favorite quotes of the world ever is by a lady named Jane Addams, Addams. She was actually the founder of what's called the Settlement House movement in Chicago, Illinois, at the turn of the last century. So right around the 1920s ish, maybe before that, actually, I believe. And she created this really cool movement from something she had observed in England, actually. And her quote, and I'm going to bastardize it. I know I get it kind of off every time, but the quote was, "Action is indeed the sole medium of expression of ethics." And so our action is how we express our ethics, and our ethics are kind of like, in a way, could be described as core values. So our action shows what our values are. It shows what our ethics are. And it's not a direct translation, because the word ethics and the word values is not a direct translation. But ethics, you can have you can hold ethical behavior or ethics, positive ethics, as a value. So action being indeed the sole medium of expression, your actions show what your values and ethics are. And so if our actions show what our values are, then as children, what we're observing, what we're soaking in, is what other people's values are. And then as we get older, we in our teen years, we kind of act out all of those and figure out which ones are really ours and which ones aren't. And then as we're young adults, we kind of do that further, and our values kind of get, I'm not going to say solidified, but we kind of get them into a hierarchical structure of what they should be. For example, one of the things in October's show, I described what my highest value is. I have a word that is my highest value, and that was actually our word for October. So a long answer, hopefully, for an amazing question. You bring the questions. I love that. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all of you who are watching and interacting. So today we're diving a little deeper into beliefs, in talking about the transformative power of those beliefs, and our because beliefs can lead to transformation, and transformation, we can also look at our beliefs as being something we can change. So if the values are building blocks, if you think about those as the Legos, then beliefs are the things we build with the Legos, and opinions are the things we build with the Lego pieces, the Lego things we build those into big things called beliefs. And then we behave based on where those Legos are all placed. So then we have thinking and feeling and actions based on where those Legos are all placed. So we like navigate our own little city or whatever. And that's where cognitive behavioral therapy comes in, because it works on those pieces. So if you change and you don't really, after you get to a certain age, your beliefs or your values rather they're not set in stone, but they are your top value is fairly, you don't want to jack with it. It's not that it's immutable, but you don't want to F with it. Your top value, whatever that is, you can move these other values around. So like one of the things I'm trained in is neurolinguistic programming. And one of the things we do is work with people to help move their values around such that they can have transformation. And so you move those values around. So maybe, for example, maybe they have their value of the word and the activity of physical exercise is not very high, but they have a desire to be healthier. So if you have a desire to be healthier, you need to move some healthier behaviors around. And in order to move the healthier behaviors around, you need to move the beliefs around. In order to move the beliefs around, you need to move the values around. So we work with people transforming where their values are placed in that hierarchical structure that's kind of in our head, and such that their values of eating healthier and physical exercise and getting good sleep and all of those things kind of move up in the chain. So then that they can believe in themselves doing those things. So then they can take action. They can move back down the chain and take action and do the things. That's a really short version of what we do with everything. What we as master practitioners of NLP, MER, and hypnosis, and that's the one of the perspectives I can come from. So if you move those values up, then you can believe more in yourself and in your doing it. And when you believe in that doing it, then you can take the action to do it. So it's really important to work with the values. So one, I'm going to take a peek at the chat and see who's here. I see that the amazing and wondermous Jessica Dugas, the producer of the Breakthrough Show Network, is in the house. And she also runs Saturday Soul Morning Coffee, where she does a radio show before that on Station Head. And on Monday nights, you guys, oh my gosh, it's you want to, if you've had a hard Monday, you got to follow Jessica on Station Head and listen to her Monday music ladder show. That's what I'm going to call it. It may not, it's not right, but that's what I'm going to call it. And maybe she'll put the link into it or something so you can follow her, because she takes one word, a song with one word in it, and then the next song she plays is connected to it that way, and the next one and the next one, and she makes these cool like strings of songs, and they're always upbeat, and after a Monday you need it. You just need it. So there are many songs with the word belief, and they're all running through her head at the same time. They're all trying to run through her head at the same time. So, hey, you're welcome. I'm glad I could be of assistance this morning, Jessica. Glad I could be of assistance. You get in my head all the time. It's about time for me to be in yours. Chemical Soup TV. Yes, I know that your work is related to beliefs, and I love hearing your perspectives on that because of your work being related to beliefs. I'm going to guess that maybe it's research work, because that's like right in my wheelhouse. I love research work in general, and understanding that beliefs give rise to values, not the other way around. I don't know. I would love to read additional research work on that. Because my understanding on the neuroscience is that our values are underneath, but I am also a very much of a learning being, and the more I gather into my head and question it, I can change my belief systems to encompass all views of things, because they both might be true. Maybe we're both right. And that's the amazingness of the world we're in, is that we can can hold more than one thing together at the same time. So today I kind of wanted to go into like just that transformation of belief change, or through belief change, so that if you change one of your beliefs, you can transform your life because your actions change. Because definitely actions come from beliefs. We act based on what we individually believe to be true. And we take actions on that. And sometimes those actions come out amazing, wonderful, and we do good things, like we believe that giving someone a hug is a positive thing. And so we might do that. And yet there's also negative things. And we've certainly experienced plenty of that in the world in the last, multiple millennias. I personally was struck over the weekend by the two horrific mass shootings that I understood about, and then the loss of one of our most amazing artisans and social justice warriors. Because as a kiddo growing up in the 70s, one of the first people I ever saw stand up to a bigot, and that's, in America, that's what we, called it, was bigots. And one of the first people I ever saw stand up to a bigot was Rob Reiner on TV, standing up to Carol, dang, I just lost my words. Archie Bunker and Meathead on All in the Family. If you grew up in the 70s, you know that you probably saw that show. And that show was written and produced and put out at the time to give rise to understanding of those negative behaviors that were going on. And it was beautifully written, in the sense that, it showed this everyday things that were happening all in the family, in the situations, such that we saw those isms that were out there. But the beautiful part of it, that many of us didn't understand until later, for sure, was that it was showing us that wasn't right. It was showing us the things that weren't right, rather. It was showing us the pieces that weren't right. It doesn't mean that there weren't, fun and beautiful things that happened, but it was showing us that the ways that it was highlighting the things we do to treat each other, to harm each other as humans. And Rob Reiner was one of the first people I ever remember on television standing up to that kind of behavior. And he continued to do it until the day he died. And then the way he died it's just so tragic. I'm still a little bit messed up over it. I'm not going to lie. So, love and kudos to, and the hugs to those who knew him well, who were around him, even to his son, because whatever was going on, whatever happened, he was in pain too, for whatever reason. So I've got to be able to hold both of those things at the same time, because he had to have been in tremendous pain in order for that to happen. He had to have believed something was wrong, and the whole thing the whole thing's tragic. The whole thing's tragic. And the world has lost a social justice warrior. That's just all there is to that. And it's unfortunate that some people don't view the whole situation as tragic, and that they've turned it into a, political nugget. Because seriously, there's probably another nugget they're going to use tomorrow, and they're not going to remember Rob tomorrow, and that's not right. And his wife. Let me not forget that. But anyway, To weave that into our topic today about how transformation of beliefs can lead to significant life changes, those of us who watched that show and saw those things and saw the highlight of somebody standing up to someone else who was being negative and being violent, if you will. It, Violence doesn't just happen as physical violence, mental violence, emotional violence, etc. You know, an individual standing up to another individual who is being hateful, hate filled, showed us that what the hate was. It showed us that the hate that was kind of all around some of us in what we grew up with. Um, it highlighted that so that we understood we understood that as not right. We understood that as harmful. We understood it as something to stand up for. And I think for some of us, it may have sown some seeds of being social justice warriors. I mean, it's not the only thing that sowed that seed for me and gave me the uh, direction to become a social justice warrior as I am, as I will hold myself as. But I think that there were some things that happened in the early 70s that helped some of us become that way. And I have been saddened to see more other, bigotry, hate, and um, division still being so stark and so harmful to people. Jessica, yeah, same happened with other deaths. People on all sides of the aisle, whatever they can to push their beliefs on others. And it's like we can't use we have a tendency to take events and make them they further polarize us to thinking that we are hierarchically better or worse than any other humans because of a belief, and then try and push that belief on other people. And the fact of the thing is um you know we each only have what's in here, and each of those things is valid. Therefore, why I don't have the right. And this is my personal belief. Let's make sure we're clear there. This is my personal belief, is that I do not have the right to push or implant or force implantation of my belief on others. It's like belief rape, if you will. That's like belief rape, because if you force another person, or attempting to force another person um to have and be like your belief onto another person, that's raping them with your beliefs. And I don't know that I mean, that in any way, shape, or form, forcing another person to do anything is not right. So I don't have the right to force my belief on you. I do have the right to have my belief. I have my right to hold it, and I have the responsibility. So here's where we go. Rights and responsibilities, choices and decisions, choices and consequences, rights and responsibilities. So today we're deeping in the rights and responsibilities. I do not have the right to force a belief on you. I do have the right to hold my own belief. I have the responsibility to be respectful of your belief, because it is that your belief. Anything that happens in your head is valid, just like anything that happens in here is valid. And therefore, I have the responsibility to accept the validity of your belief, even if I don't agree with it. I don't have to agree with it, but I do have the responsibility to accept it as valid for you. And I have the right to have my own whatever it is in here for me. Jessica, girl, I'd love to have you just jump in the seat and be on stage, because I want to hear what. Not sure which part is possible. I'm not sure it's possible. Actually, I'm processing that. Whether it's possible to belief rape, is that if it's possible? I'm now you got me curious. And you know what happens when I get curious? My whole day, and I'm supposed to be working on things later. I'm gonna I'm gonna be off in belief land. If it's possible to force a belief on anyone, I agree. I don't know that you could force a belief, because if they accept it, is it then force or not? But then again, you've also got the idea of brainwashing and manipulation, in the sense of, oh, dang, you opened up the can of worms. We're opening up the can of worms today between Chemical Soup TV. You and I, we're opening it up, because if it is possible to force a belief on somebody, I don't know that it's possible. I think people think it's possible. Oh, that's of course, force somebody to have to listen, but they get the choice of whether or not to adopt it. Yeah. And yeah, I think you nailed it. I think we can force somebody to have to listen, or we can force them to be like, we could put them, like, lock them in a room and have them listening to the thing, or listening to us, where, like, I don't know, chain them down where they have to be in the same space. They might not even have to listen, because there's probably ways to meditate and get away from that shit. But they have then we do get a choice of whether or not to adopt the belief. Although I'm also wondering, when it comes to things like brainwashing scenarios and cult-like behaviors, if that somebody adopts a belief that the core of their self or their soul doesn't necessarily believe, but it holds it as a belief during a certain period of time. I'm wondering because I think beliefs we can hold transitory, kind of like that. And that's why I think that the Legos are the values, and then the beliefs are what we build out of them, because because you can transform a belief. The value itself, the value of love, the value of hard work, the value of even a value of money, the value of friendship, whatever, the pieces. You can take the pieces and build them into a belief, and build, so you take the Legos and build it into something, but you can take those Legos apart and build it into something else. And so the transformation of the thing is you can take those Legos apart and build a bridge out of something that you previously built a wall out of. And when you build it into a bridge, it becomes a different belief. And it doesn't mean that your belief is invalid if you were believing the thing that you're brainwashed into. Let's say you've built it into whatever it is you're brainwashed into. It's that, and that's a valid belief at that time. Then yes, the interview that NX1 VM cult is like serious. Yeah. And I would say any there's also a gal on YouTube who's the knitting she knits and talks about cults, and she has a book about cults and beliefs. Fascinating, brilliant woman. She was also in the service for quite some time, so she couches her lessons. But it's so you've got the beliefs, and those beliefs that are built into that, say it's a cult-like belief, because everyone's believing the same thing. When people leave there, for whatever reason, whether the cult breaks up, whether they get, well, we're not even going to get into that, but when they do, frequently it's because they go into this other transformation and they realize that the things that they were believing were harmful either to themselves or others, and they choose to then change their belief system. And I think the negativity in cults, the thing that's bad there is a shared belief system where harm to others is important, or it's the reason for being, or it's whatever. It's, I think anytime we get into groupthink about harming others, that's when the trouble starts, is because none of us on this planet have the right to harm other people, and we all have the responsibility to check ourselves at the door, to put it in a colloquialism. So the core of things, one of our cores of things is our beliefs, but they're malleable. Our beliefs are malleable, more so than our values. We can move them around and shift them, but our top value and our building blocks are there. And there's, our values are the, that's why I have the structure of describing it that way. So in order to figure out a transformation in our life, we need to examine the building blocks we're using and the things that we're building with it, and be able to also look at, should, or do we want to rebuild those into something else? Do we have a wall that we want to build into something else? And so then we need to take the bricks down and build the wall into a bridge instead, because it's not going to get us anywhere if we keep trying to go up against a brick wall. Let's say the brick wall is physical health, and the physical health not being where we want it. If there's a wall there, we can't get past it and say lose weight, or have our body composition be different, or have not have heart issues, not have stomach issues, not have whatever the issues are that are causing us to be unhealthy. And so instead, we've got to take those bricks all apart, or take that wall apart and rebuild it into something else. And in order to do that, we have to examine our beliefs, examine our values, examine our actions, examine where those beliefs were put in place. So I'm going to go down a little bit more on where, what happens with our beliefs, because at some point in our life, a belief gets built based on a decision that we make when something happens in our life. So something happens in life, we make a decision. That decision becomes a belief that we believe about the world. So the decision is, oh, blah, blah, blah. The example I'll give is I am not, I got yelled at. That means I'm not enough. I got yelled at for doing this wrong. That means I'm not good. So that's an example of a decision. I got yelled at. That means I'm bad. That means I'm not good. So the decision that's made is I'm not good. And what happens is a limiting belief about I am not good, I am not worthy, gets built. It's like you build it and you plant a seed and boom, that's there. So from that point forward in your life, unless you rebuild that belief, you have a limiting belief about yourself that may or may not be true, of I am not good enough. Therefore, then the next, and then you go on in life and another experience happens. And sure enough, the pattern that created that belief can repeat itself until you find out that that's there. without going into like fully on how that works from a neuroscientific perspective and how we can get rid of it perspective, is just suffice it to say that we have a situation that happens, we decide something about that situation, and then that can create a limiting belief about self. Well, that limiting belief it can be with us our entire life until we figure it out and get rid of it. And there are various ways to do that. Some people, you'll hear people call that shadow work. You'll hear them call it mental emotional release, which is what I'm trained in, timeline therapy. There's different ways to get rid of those limiting beliefs. And if you don't get rid of the limiting belief, it will play itself out in a program. So that limiting belief creates a program in your head, similar to software programming. And software programming is going to play over and over and over again until you tell it not to, or until you reprogram the device. Well, this device gets programmed with all of those limiting beliefs about ourselves, and it plays out over and over and over again in our activities. So we have to transform that. But in order to transform it, you've got to figure out what the hell caused it. So there's lots of ways to do that too. Sometimes even just talking to others about their beliefs and about our differences in beliefs can help you realize that you have a belief about something. Having others help point out that you are worthy and showing you the things that you are worthy in. But then you do have to do that work to get rid of the negative limiting belief. Because here's the deal. If you don't get rid of it, it's almost like having the princess and the pea, where that pea is way down underneath all the mattresses and you can still feel it. And you're not going to get a good night's sleep until you get rid of that little pea that's underneath all the mattresses. So you have to transform the belief into, by getting rid of that little thing that's niggling at you. After you've done that, though, the magic can happen, because after you realize that brick wall you're going up against is a limiting belief that was a decision you made when you were in 6th grade because a math teacher told you that you weren't good enough. That story may or may not be true, allegedly. Read the article on Numi if you want to find more. There's an article about it. That when you get rid of the limiting belief or the negative belief, you can actually transform that wall. That's when the building blocks come apart, and then you start putting the building blocks together and you can create a bridge to your future. That part may or may not be true as well. Allegedly, it may have happened this week. Thank you, Jessica, and 2:17 a.m. I'm telling you some little bits of stories that have personally happened just because that, I can only relate to you what's happening in here. And my interaction, of course, with the amazing audience. You guys give me lots to think about. Chemical Soup TV, thank you so much for being here. Jessica, always. It's just I'm just going to say Jessica, always. Because you're always around for that. But when you transform that wall into the bridge, you can actually have a compelling, positive future to keep moving towards. And then don't get me wrong, there's other beliefs back in there. There's other things that we've got to go and get to and transform. And this is an iterative process, and it's, some people could call it adulting, some people can call it life, growth, wisdom. Wisdom is probably a good way for me to describe that one. But the true wisdom is knowing that you don't know everything. And true wisdom, I think, is knowing that you there's always something next, and you are going to continue to transform the entirety of the time that you're in this life, at least. I can't speak to the other one because, I'm not sure. I know I've been there before, but I have no way to really describe that in this life right at this moment. Um, but we need to start with where we believe in things, what we believe in. So I'm gonna, speaking of beliefs, I would be remiss this month. And yes, I did this on purpose because beliefs, and it's do you believe? What do you believe in that is related to any winter holidays that you might be celebrating? And we have winter holidays all over the world. Here in the US, frequently wintertime also brings cold and snow. Um, in other parts of the world, it brings summertime. Um, and so, I want you to watch this cute little this uh, message from the Breakthrough Show Network about the season, about beliefs, and about wishes for positivity for humanity. And I will be right back. So, yeah, happy winter holidays to everybody. Happy winter holidays. We I think winter holidays probably arose, especially in the um, win, winter snow winter holidays, in the those of us who experience the cold and snow of and winter. We have winter, not summer, during the December months, if you will. Um, and that's the only experience I can speak from, obviously. Um, is that, you know, cold and snow and things caused us to stay closer together indoors, and those things caused us to, it gives rise to being physically in more closer proximity to each other and spending time telling stories and learning. In one of my cultures, in my family, there's winter storytelling that happens, and the storytelling is attached to our language, and our language is attached also to lessons and spirituality. And um, I think my love of language etymology, and where certain words come from, what they mean, and what they mean for different people, and the transformative power of words, the all of the powers of the words, comes somewhat from my learning journey with my own language, my Potawatomi language. And if you're not familiar with that, go back to the first month or so of the show, and we did a show. I did a show with Justin Neely, the language director of the Potawatomi Nation, and we talked a lot about that. It was a great show. I need to have him back on and have some winter storytelling, because those stories that we tell in the wintertime were filled with lessons and values and things for the children, but also the children's learning of those things informed the adults. And so you have this iterative bridge process from one generation to the next. And I think all of our cultures around the world have some form of that teaching of values that goes from one to the other, and thusly then the blooming and generation of the beliefs that are caused by that. And so that's actually kind of part of what I wanted to bring into this month, talking about beliefs. And then, of course, those who celebrate Christmas as a holiday, there's a belief in the jolly old elf, a belief in Santa Claus, and then for um, any spiritual or any religion, you've got your construction and description of your belief system in your spiritual construct, be it Christianity, be it Judaism, be it American Indian spirituality, um, be it Hindu, Islam, Buddhism, Taoism. I know that I could go on and on because we have so many amazing constructed um, belief systems in our world. There's such an amazing diverse construction of beliefs. I think at the core, if you follow all of them up, the highest value inside those systems, hopefully the highest value is love, which is why those values of hate and negative things can't fit for us as humans, because our highest connection is love. No matter what you do, if you talk to our friend Henry Cameron Allen, who was on another show, I'm going. This retrospective show day. The show I did with Henry Cameron, and we talked about, and his pronoun. He describes to people, instead of having a pronoun of he, she, they, it, his pronoun is love. And I think that's beautiful because it embodies them as a human, is that our highest values, hopefully in any connected, caring human system, is love. And that our highest value is love. And thusly maybe our highest belief as well, because that one, maybe it's, that one little brick of love, and that turns into the brick that is love. So I think I'm going to end the show today on that highest value of love, and it being that our belief to be connected to each other, and believing in what can we do with and for each other that exudes that love. Because we've all had, it's not the hardest week we've ever had. It's not the hardest week we're ever going to have. We have lots of that. Speaking of love, also, like, share, and subscribe to Show Me Your Nuts and to the Breakthrough Show Network. We have got so much cool stuff coming in 26. There's new shows coming. Show Me Your Nuts. Oh, I said something about this at the beginning. Show Me Your Nuts is moving. We are going to be moving to Thursdays at, now I got to look at my calendar. Thursday, we're going to be moving to Thursday mornings. So watch for more. We're going to move to Thursday mornings for you for a lot of reasons. It's going to hopefully be in more flow with a few things. I think the producers of the Breakthrough Show Network for being flexible for the Show Me Your Nuts show to flow into Thursdays for everyone. And I'm hoping that it will help. Also, maybe it's a little later in the morning, so I'm hoping that maybe my West Coast peeps will be able to join us more frequently, and maybe even join us on stage more frequently. So please like, share, and subscribe for us. Help us get some more viewers. Help tell your friends about Show Me Your Nuts. Tell your friends to show you their nuts. Tell your friends to show you their nuts. And we will see you next week. Next week will still be on Tuesday. The week after will still be on Tuesday. And then we're going to move to Thursday starting January 8th. I will see you next week. And until then, keep your nuts warm.
Thank you for joining us on this nutty adventure. Remember, personal growth and wellness are journeys best taken together. Keep exploring, keep growing, and don't forget to show me your nuts next time.